Thanks for staying with us. Now, this afternoon, the Free Senior High School Initiative has been allocated some 4.2 billion cedis for the year 2026, the biggest apportionment since the program began in 2017. But a JoyNews research has revealed that there is no trace of it under the Ministry of Education's budget for next year. The flagship program, which used to have its own line item under the education budget, has disappeared, with questions being asked about the category under which its budget for next year sits. Well, the JoyNews research team has been putting together the facts, and head of the research team here at JoyNews, Isaac Ofieje, who joins me in the studio with details of what we have fact-checked here at JoyNews. Kofi, let's start with what you have found, because we know previously under the Education Ministry, Free SHS itself had like a budgetary allocation under the Ministry of Education. What has changed based on your findings?
Well, so since 2017, you know, the Free SHS program is a big flagship program, and it used to have its own budgetary allocation and budget line under the Ministry of Education, just like you'll be seeing on your screens very soon. So if you take the 2022, budget statement, for instance, you see Free SHS, Free Senior High School, and the program is there, the allocation you see there. And that has been the template since 2017, 18, 19, 22, 23, up to when we get to 25, when government was changed. And we understand this year, for instance, government allocated more than 3 billion Ghana cedis to the Free Senior High School initiative. But we've been trying to find where exactly the Free Senior High School budget will sit. We understand that, of course, the government says that GET Fund levy has been uncapped, and that will mean that the Free Senior High School is going to take its entire budget from the GET Fund levy, which this next year we are hoping to get about 9.8 billion Ghana cedis from that levy. But in fact, what we are not able to get is that line item in the budget that actually corresponds with what the finance minister said, that he's going to allocate 4.2 billion to Free Senior High School. We can't find that as we used to find in previous years, as we were able to track and get the budget credibility for Free Senior High School. This time around, all we know is that 4.2 billion is allocated, and that is going to come from GET Fund levy. But if you go under the GET Fund levy, you don't see, or if you go under GET Fund, you don't see the Free Senior High School with its, solely identified there. For instance, if you go to some of the special initiatives this year, for instance, the Big Push initiative, government takes time to break it down where the various funding sources will come from, ABFA, mineral royalties, Government of Ghana's funding, and all of that. If you go to another fund like the National Health Insurance Fund, which definitely is going to house the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, which is the Mahama the Mahama Care Program, you see that under the the Ghana Health Fund, and the line item dedicated there. This year, what you see on your screens is that the Ministry of Education, you see headquarters and agencies, existing initiatives in education, construction of regional STEM centers, capitation grant, WAEC examination fee, teacher training allowances, initiatives, and priorities in education. But what you don't see is a Free Senior High School program. You can see on your screen the free sanitary pad initiative is there. No academic fee for first-year students is there. So the key question is, if the Free Senior High School is still under the Ministry of Education, why is it budget not being captured under the ministry's budget for 2026? Although we understand that the funding will come from GET Fund, we still want to see that line item indicated there so we can track. And because nobody knows what will come out after appropriation.
Okay.
Government makes big noise about 4.2 billion allocation for 2026. But GET Fund in itself will have to go through some level of appropriation before expenditure is done. So if GET Fund doesn't meet its expected revenue in 2026, what happens to the Free Senior High School? That is why we are asking that, why has the template changed when in the previous years we could see that line item there? You could know how much was being spent on CAPEX, how much was being spent on goods and services, how much was being spent, under compensation of employees and all of that. But this year, all we know is that headline figure, and all we know is that the funding source will come from GET Fund. But as to where Free Senior High School will fall, we are still yet to get information. Possibly, maybe government will categorize that under GET Fund, but we still want to see that line item in the budget that will help us track the credibility of the budget, as in trying to compare budgets versus actual expenditure, after that. Because if everything is in the GET Fund, it means I would have to wait for a year and a half before we can get a full GET Fund report to see how much has been allocated to the Free Senior High School. But if the line item is indicated in the budget regularly, or when there's a new budget, you'll be able to track and see the budget credibility of the Free Senior High School. So although 4.2 billion has been allocated, we simply are not able to find it under the Ministry of Education budget for 2026, firstly.
But when we compile the figure we have based on the items under the Ministry of Education, is there any deficit that shows that probably there's an allocation for free SHS?
Well, so you don't see any deficit. So the figure you see on your screens will add up to the amount allocated to the...
And that is coming up on your screens. Yeah. We can see it on this side of our studio, so that's why we're all turning towards this
very soon, the
side.
2026.
It will come up on your screens as well.
In green, you see that the Education Ministry this year, for instance, is going to enjoy...
Yes, stay here for us.
I think we should go to 2026.
Okay, right? 2026, right?
The Education Ministry is going to have about 39.2 billion in allocation this year. And if you add all of this special or sub under the ministry's budget, you can see each of the allocations, and that will add up to the 39 billion. That maybe means that Free Senior High School, its budget no longer sits under the Ministry of Education. But if you go to the GET Fund, which the government says about 9.8 billion, under it, you don't see the, owing to, as you can see, the Ministry of Education budget, owing to headquarters, owing to existing initiatives, owing to capitation grant, owing to WAEC examination fees and for BEC and all of that. If you go to the GET Fund, you don't see that the GET Fund itself has to go for appropriation, and the allocation for next year would also have to come up. But what we want to see is that budgetary allocation, where that will correspond with the big figure the finance minister mentioned during the budget presentation for state.
Thank you so much, Kofi. Isaac Kofi AJ, just in the studio giving us a background of this. Now you can join our conversation and share your thoughts with us on all our social media handles. We'll also try to reach out to government as we break down some of these things that have come up. But then, Kofi, I'm just wondering, for individuals out there wondering why there is this change. Previously, where was the administration getting their source of funding for education? It wasn't the GET Fund, was it?
I think it wasn't in the GET Fund, right?
Okay.
Not in the GET Fund. GET Fund itself was capped, so that made it difficult for GET Fund to sponsor Free Senior High School. But what we understand is that the main source was from the oil revenue, or the ABFA. But also, if you study the free SHS funding over the years, it's been a cocktail of funding sources. So it has not come from one source. But this government is dedicating a portion of the GET Fund for free SHS, right? So that 9.8 billion we're expecting next year, the expectation is that about 4.2 billion is expected to go into free SHS. But our concern is that then the GET Fund, which is that 9.8 billion, we should have a breakdown after appropriation to indicate how much exactly Free Senior High School gets, because what exists in the budgets now are estimates, right? So government can make, big projections with the estimate, but what will be the actual after appropriation, after Parliament is done approving the budget is of the appropriation that will become law before we can spend? What will happen to that big figure of 4.9 billion allocated to that? Allocated to free SHS? That is the question we are asking. That's the clarity we all want to know as far as allocation to free SHS is concerned. Firstly.
Thank you so much, Isaac Kofi AJ. Now, the big question is under which ministry or sector is this money placed? And really, where is the money coming from for the free SHS? We've been just doing our checks. We see that it's coming from the GET Fund, but then we need answers from government. Well, join me on Zoom is the country director for Send Ghana, Harriet Ajimai. Thank you so much for your time here on the pulse. But we'll come to you shortly. I'm told I'm to take you to the presidency right now. Something is happening there. We'll be right back.
A person's gender is determined at birth. And then also that the family is the foundation of our nation. That is our position. And so there are no questions or equivocations about what we believe. I believe that we are completely aligned with the Christian Council in terms of your belief. And so we agree with the Speaker to relay the bill and let Parliament, debate it. And if there are any amendments or whatever that have to be done. If the Parliament of the people of Ghana endorse the bill and vote on it and pass it, and it comes to me as president, I will sign it. Now, the issue on the National Cathedral. The National Cathedral Board of Trustees ordered an audit into the accounts of the National Cathedral. The audit was published, and there were some issues that bubbled out of the audit. But there are two kinds of audit. There's a normal audit that you yourself choose your auditor and ask him to come and audit you. And then he audits and presents the report to you. There's that kind of auditor. Then there's the auditor who is asked to come and do a forensic audit. And so we got a copy of the audit that had been commissioned by the Board of Trustees. And as president, I directed that a forensic audit be conducted. We want to know what happened. Before we go forward, we must know what happened. And so we're waiting for the report of the forensic audit. Once that forensic audit has been done, then we can decide what the way forward is. I am a Christian, and I believe that building a house where we can worship God is a good thing. I was one of the chief fundraisers for my own Assemblies of God church building where I worship at Ringway Gospel Center. And I built 10 rural, we call them temples, in 10 villages. For the Assemblies of God Church. Of course, I solicited support from different people, and we built them. They have quarters for the pastor. He's got his bedroom, he's got his kitchen, he's got his living room, and then we have the church hall that can seat up to about 150 people. And so I do believe in building, an interdenominational place where we can worship. But it must be done in consultation with all of us. All of us must decide, how we want to do it, what the scope is, and how much it should cost. I believe that at this time and age, with all the problems we have, $400 million to build a cathedral is excessive. I know Nigeria have built an ecumenical center, and I've been there. It's a decent, beautiful place, and they built it for $40 million. And so maybe some of the things are excessive. Let's find somewhere, all of us, on National Day of Thanksgiving and Worship, we can all go there and worship God and thank Him for what He has done for us. And so when that forensic audit is over, our intention is to have a broad-based consultation with the Christian community to see how we can build a place that is decent for us to worship. But apart from that, make it a center where people can come and look at its architecture and all that, and find that Christ, has a place in our hearts, in our nation. And so when the time comes, we'll do that consultation, and we'll decide together how we want to go forward. Before I became president, had indicated that we're going to take the fight against corruption to a whole new level. And it's not anything personal against anybody. I have said several times that our problem in the fight against corruption is that it is always post-regime corruption that we fight. And so when a government is in office, when scandals are taking place, they don't deal with them. And so they leave it until a new government comes. And when that government comes and starts investigating the cases of corruption, then the previous government says, oh, you are witch hunting us. This is political persecution. But I've said notice to my ministers, ask them every day in cabinet, I remind them. I say the prosecutions that we're taking against the current government will be tied the first person who brings a scandal to this government. We shall hang them on a cross. And you follow our Lord Jesus Christ, that you cannot resurrect again. And so I keep warning them that Aba Yedebo Techi and Wani Yedebo Boba. But we must deal with the corruption that has taken place. And my belief is that if we want our people to continue to have faith in our democracy, then we must show that the political elite is capable of governing accountably. Because by the time we went to the 2024 elections, most of our young people and our people were like, oh, even elections, it's a waste of time. You go and vote and people will just come and misuse our money. If we don't let our people believe that we can govern this country and govern it accountably and hold people to ransom who have misused government resources, then we can go the way other countries have gone. And that's why I said before the election, and I was misinterpreted, I said Ghana is not immune from coup d'etats. If the political class does not get its act together, it is possible that there could be a military coup or a civilian uprising. And civilian uprisings are worse than military coups because they end up in chaos and anarchy. If you look at what happened in Sri Lanka or somewhere, when the people had had enough, they overran the government, the prime minister ran away. They entered the prime minister's house, they were swimming in his swimming pool and opened his fridge and were drinking his drinks and eating his food. That is worse than a coup d'etat. And so for me, I said that my mission is to use the mandate Ghanaians have given me to move Ghana to a level where anybody who comes after cannot reverse the gains that we have done. And then people come to me and say, oh, but oral is too slow, the investigations and prosecutions are too slow and all that. But the point is, we have a constitution. We are not in the military and revolutionary days. A person, even whatever they say the person has done, the person must have his day in court. And a judge must look at the evidence and decide whether he's guilty or not guilty. Society can condemn the person as guilty, but when you present the facts in court, the judge might have a different opinion. And so, even though, I'm sure most Ghanaians would want us to have one big courts, this thing, put them in, and then in 1 week we dispatch your case and then straight to Nsawam and just keep dispatching them. We have a constitution and we must follow the process. And you don't just get up and take the person to court because you believe he's committed a crime. You must gather the evidence. Because however guilty you think a person is, if you don't gather the evidence and you just rush a case to court, the judge will throw it out. And so they say all this oral thing and this, that. The investigative organizations are working as and when they have sufficient evidence, then they take the case to court. And so we're not going to rush those cases if we don't have evidence because the public is baying for blood. We're going to go through, gather the evidence, prepare the dockets properly so that when we take these people to court, we're sure of what it is we've accused them of. And so the fight against corruption, we're committed to it. We'll be impartial and fair, and we're working to strengthen the institutions and make sure that we give them the logistics that they deserve. Many of them have asked for more trained investigators and to train some more of their investigators in evidence gathering and docket building and all that. And so we're taking cognition of that and we would assist them in that regard. With regards to the mission schools, The Catholic Secretariat was here, they raised the same issue, and so it's something that we have referred to the Minister of Education. He actually sat in the meeting with the Catholic Secretariat, and if I'd known it would be one of the issues you raised, I'd have made him come here so that he'll give us an update on what has happened since then. We know that an MOU was signed at a certain time, so we've asked him to bring the MOU, update it, and bring an information paper to Cabinet to apprise Cabinet of what progress was made with regards to giving bigger control back to the missions in respect of their schools. So once he does that, Cabinet will look at it and take a decision. I'm sure there will be more consultation between yourselves and the Ministry of Education so that when you come up with a consensus that we all can stand behind, then we will move forward. I think it's in the right direction because if you look at secular control of schools, in many cases you have a breakdown of discipline. In many cases, morality is not as enforced as it should. I mean, you have a situation where a student takes a gun and takes it to school and fires it and blinds one of his colleagues. I mean, very outrageous things, happen. And so I believe that, yes, like you said, the kind of cooperation we have when it comes to the healthcare sector is something that we can have in the education sector. And by the way, we have not taken a decision yet, but it's going to come to Cabinet. We've asked the Ministry of Education to do an assessment of all the outstanding Agenda 111 hospitals. I think AESL is doing that work. And so when they bring the report, there are some that are near completion that government will just go ahead and complete. And there are others too that are at various stages. The foundation has been finished, some are at lintel, different segments. And I was saying that because of the cooperation we enjoy with the faith-based organizations that run hospitals, if there are some of these hospitals in areas where you find that it is useful for you to expand your health outreach, you might agree to take one of the hospitals and complete it and add it to the hospitals that you manage. And so at the right time, we will come with all the information on the hospitals and where they are located. And then once you've gone through, you can look at where your congregations are and where you think that if you take the hospital, it will enhance the medical outreaches that you're doing. The last one is a tragedy, and it was avoidable. It just shouldn't have happened. The lack of opportunity has made recruitment into the security services a life and death issue for many young people. And so for many years, many young people have been wanting to go into the security services. But at a certain point in time, the recruitment was not transparent. You hear the portal is open, then nobody hears anything. Before you hear, people are in camp training. People have been selected and in camp training. And so we, during the campaign, said that we're going to make the recruitment more open and transparent, and that we're going to do the recruitment in all the regions simultaneously. So we would announce a date. When you go on the portal, it will tell you whether you are qualified because there are certain basic qualifications. And so if you go on the portal, it will give you a serial number and tell you you are qualified. And so we said when the time comes, we'll show them where to come so that we do the recruitment. And so in all the other regions, I think things went fairly well. The two regions where we had problems were in Ashanti and Greater Accra. Most people haven't heard, but in Ashanti, one female was also trampled upon, and she remains in critical critical but stable condition. But Accra was where the major problem was. I mean, you have a stadium like Elwak, LWAC has only 2 entrances, and it was obvious by morning that, the venue was inadequate to take the numbers. And so what I think should have been done was to suspend the exercise for that day and then go on the drawing board again and see what to do, which is what they've done now. Now there are 5 different centers, and people are being called in batches when the resumption takes place later this week. And so the numbers are more manageable, but somebody should have foreseen that this would happen. Unfortunately, we lost 6 of our young people, all female, because the way the pressure came, the female body is not as robust as the male. So most of those who were injured were female. When I went to the ICU, most of those I saw there were female. But unfortunately, we lost 6 of them. Several of them, about 6 of them, are still in critical condition. We continue to pray that they make a full recovery. But I think that there must be lessons learned from this. The military has taken the decision to institute a board of inquiry, which is ongoing now. But in the meantime, those in charge of personnel management have been relieved of their positions, and new appointments have been made to personnel management. And so we pray for the souls of the young people who were lost. I sent the Deputy Minister and a contingent to visit all the families of those who lost their lives. And I also gave a directive that if they have a sibling or a relative from the family who is qualified medically and physically to join the security services, we should give them that opportunity so that the ambition that their sibling had or their relative had in joining the force will not be lost to the family. And I think that they've received that, quite well. So those are the issues that you have raised. I want to thank you for raising them. And like I said, our doors are always open. And I'm sure that this interactive session we've had would give you an understanding of the perspectives from which we also are operating. So thank you very much, and God richly bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Please be seated. Shall we please give Mr. President another round of applause for that comprehensive presentation.
President John Dramani Mahama there just addressing the delegation from the Christian Council that paid him a courtesy call this afternoon. He's just spoken about the issue that happened at LWAC Sports Stadium, where we lost the lives of 6 individuals who were hoping to gain recruitment into the security services. He just gave updates as to the whole process, and that a board of inquiry has been instituted to look into the process, as government is looking forward as making sure that the process is transparent moving forward. Well, let me take you back to our earlier story. We were just telling you about government's budgetary allocation to the Education Ministry and the questions we've raised about which ministry really is the free SHS under and what government plans are. That's a conversation we'll be having this afternoon on the pause, and we'll reach out to the ministry as well just to get their side of the story. But our research team have been asking big questions this afternoon. Let me bring in now Assent Ghana. Harriet Ajiman is from Assent Ghana, and they have also put out a statement earlier today. They've just been commending government for the budgetary allocation, about 22% we know of the 2026 budget. Government allocated it to social services in both health, education, agri sector. And so let me bring in Harriet just to get her thoughts on that. You're commending government, but you have some concerns. What exactly are they?
Right, thank you very much, and good afternoon to all viewers. Assent Ghana, we have touched on several sectors, including education, health, agriculture, and social protection with a bit of sexual and reproductive health issues. And so we have said that, well, much as government has allocated substantial amounts to the various sectors, some of them are inadequate, taking into consideration the interventions required to make education very holistic or health very holistic. We have those gaps. And so, for instance, under health, we have mentioned that government is going to improve on infrastructure, and that is commendable, but we need all other interventions or logistics to work with. We need health professionals available in all the chips. As of now, we don't have full complements of staff, especially when our targets for maternal health is lagging, and we want to address that as a country. If we put up chips or those existing now does not have midwives, then we are not solving the problem. The reason also is that women will have to be transferred whilst in labor, and our ambulance services is not adequate enough to cover every part of the country. And so that will continue to lead to maternal mortality. And so if we have to address that, then we need to take care of staff, that is health professionals. We need obstetric care, and we need the logistics and the medication, appropriate medication for all of that.
Let's look at education as well, because you also raised some concerns about education, and I'm quite interested in that. What exactly are the gaps you have spotted?
We have mentioned that education requires teachers, and so we need adequate teachers to be in our schools, especially in the deprived areas. It might not be an issue of recruiting new teachers, but redistributing existing teachers, because then you have, especially the urban centers where we have an overflow of teachers, but in the rural or deprived areas, we are lacking with respect to teachers. So we require redistribution, and government must pay attention to that. Then the redistribution does come with some cost, even if it's about recruitment. And so you need to transfer, and people need money to move to those areas. We need to motivate those who agree to go and be in deprived areas, areas that lack access to good water, access to electricity, no entertainment. If you want to post any young person there, man or woman, that person should be well motivated to go and live there and to do their work. And so it has some cost implications. And so much as government wants to put up all the schools, 200 KGs, 200 JHS, and all the others, it is very, very critical that we have the teachers. We have seen that government wants to provide some books. That is good. It's in the right direction, and we encourage government to do that. But also we are saying that the facilities that are going to be put up must be disability friendly. It must have the wash facilities, especially now that government is providing free sanitary pads to girls. The girls will need the changing rooms. They will need very clean sanitation facilities to be able to feel comfortable coming to school. Otherwise, they will still take the pads and remain home, because when it's time for changing, there will be no appropriate place for changing. Those washrooms will be too dirty to be there to spend up to 5 minutes to change. And so government should ensure that those facilities mentioned to be constructed are well integrated with the wash facilities, such that it meets the requirements for all. Inclusivity is the word, and we are looking up to government to do that.
And Harriet, have you submitted an official petition to government just highlighting your concerns?
We have released the statement that is in the news, and we would submit as well. In fact, we have an analysis on each of the sectors, it is highlights of those that we picked for the release that went out today. And so whatever we have, we will definitely share when those briefs are ready.
And how soon will that be? So that government has a working document at least?
No, we are targeting the end of the week.
Okay.
Yes, we are almost through with that.
Thank you so much, Harriet, for your time here on the Pulse. Well, let's head now to Parliament. The majority is mounting strong defense for government's 2026 budget. As the House begins debate for its passage, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasi Alatuforsen, on Thursday, November 13, 2025, delivered the 2026 budget statement and economic policy to Parliament, indicating government's plans to spend some 302 billion cedis while hoping to generate some 268 billion cedis. The budget also touted government's achievement in improving the economy by beating down inflation, exchange rates, among others. Chairman of the Finance Committee, Dr. Isaac Adongo, who opened the budget debate on the floor of the House today, insisted that the minority have no moral ground to question the budget after mismanaging Ghana's economy with high inflation, cedi depreciation and mounting debt.
2026, the inflation that you are seeing will begin to behave again. Mr. Speaker, interest rates are going to behave. Mr. Speaker, the exchange rate will behave because the people who are managing them are themselves behaving. And when you behave, the economic variables cannot misbehave. We were in a country where for 8 years, because of recklessness and lack of behavior on the part of those managing the economy, all that the variables knew was to misbehave. So inflation was misbehaving at 54%. Today, inflation is behaving because we are asking inflation stay within the medium-term band of 8% plus or minus 2, and they will continue to behave in 2026. Interest rates are behaving. Now we are able to lend and borrow at 14%. We will continue to make sure that interest rate behave around that figure. Mr. Speaker, the exchange rate has behaved. Everybody knows that today the exchange rate fears to go anywhere near 12 cedis, not to talk about 17 cedis. It will continue to behave under the new arrangement that we are putting together in 2026. Our fire service, which is almost moribund, go there and see our fire tenders. They are not functioning. When you have a fire outbreak, it is better to look for a bucket than to be calling the fire service. Because when you call the fire service, they will come and join you to watch the fire burn because they don't have capacity. We are procuring more fire tenders so that our firemen will fight fire instead of watching fire. And that is what we are doing for our firemen. Mr. Speaker, we are collaborating with the private sector. We are collaborating with the private sector to ensure that in 2026, we put together a framework that allows the fire service, together with the private sector, to begin to develop capacity for our high-rise buildings that are coming up. Imagine somebody is on the 18th floor of the Bank of Ghana office, and there's a fire outbreak there. What will happen to them? We want to be able to provide that capacity so that we can fight fire on our high-rise buildings that are emerging in the airport city and all over the place. So that is the work that we are going to do. Mr. Speaker.
Well, let me take you now to Parliament. My colleague James Aveji is on standby. James, the Finance Committee chairman, he's also been making some points about borrowing under the previous government. Tell us more about that.
Well, firstly, that's exactly where he began his submission from, stating that in the last year, 2024, the previous administration borrowed as much as 60 billion Ghana cedis. And for them on the other side, the expectation is that they would use part of this monies to manage the cedi so that the depreciation we saw last year, where the cedi went as high as almost 17 Ghana cedis, could have been avoided, but they failed to use this borrowing to manage the cedi, and it depreciated so much as we have experienced. He also talked about the fact that the country, as of last year, the international reserves were so much depleted that, in his words, we had as low as 2 weeks cover before the previous government left office. Then he moved from there to provide some clarification on the gold board. You remember that in the last few months, when the gold board and the government intervention in the CD started, there's been a lot of accusation to the gold board, the minority accusing them of operating illegally in the illegal mining sector, buying gold from illegal miners in order to cushion gold reserves, which government says the increment in our gold reserve is the reason why the CD is doing quite well, aside the capital injection from the Bank of Ghana. Honorable Isaac Adongo insisted that if the works of the gold board is maintaining the level of appreciation of the CD, then they must be applauded instead of chastised by the minority, as they were stating. And so those were the preliminary comments he's been making until he delved into the management of the CD and how it behaved under the previous government, as well as the state of state institutions, including the Ghana National Fire Service for Sea.
But the minority has responded squarely. What exactly is their defense to this?
Economy. You promised us. You promised Ghanaians 1 job, 3 people, 3 shifts. You promised Ghanaians 1 job, 3 people, 3 shifts. Where is it? Clearly, Mr. Speaker, when you look at the funding in the budget, on one page it says 90 million, on another page it says 110 million. So this is what I'm speaking to. Even the numbers in the budget are not adding up. Mr. Speaker, if this is dear to your heart and the theme of your budget is growth, jobs and economic transformation, and the 124-hour economy which says 1 job, 3 people, 3 shifts, you are putting just 110 million or 90 million, then clearly you are just speaking to it and not actually making sure that it happens. Mr. Speaker, in this same budget, paragraph 1009, the minister said that the devastation caused by illegal mining has gone far beyond economics. It threatens our survival. That is what the minister said. It threatens our survival. So, Mr. Speaker, if something threatens your survival, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to fight it to make sure you survive. And how can you fight it when, with a ministry of 2.1 billion budget, you only give the agency to fight it 150 million Ghana cedis, Mr. Speaker? 150 million Ghana cedis out of the 2.1 billion budget given to the Ministry of Lands and Forestry. Mr. Speaker, when I compare it to the total budget, when you take out your compensation and you compare it to the total budget, 150 million, you compare it to the total budget, the contribution is 0.003%. 0.003%, Mr. Speaker. So how can you say that it goes beyond economics and it threatens our survival? Mr. Speaker, the Galamsey menace is a war. If it's a war, then this budget, Mr. Speaker, this budget is telling us that it's like we are in a battlefield with plastic chairs instead of armors to fight and make sure we win this. Because if you send 150, which is 7% of the total budget of the Ministry of Lands and Forestry, and 0.003%, then clearly it is not a matter of survival. It is just a matter of words. Words, fluffy words that don't have any meaning. But Mr. Speaker, we need to rise above that. This is hurting us, this is killing us, this is poisoning our food, and so we need to do something more than that. I expect that before we approve this budget and pass appropriation, the minister would have amended the monies given to fight Galamsey and also to improve on the alternative livelihoods of people who are wind of Galamsey.
And James is still with us. James, quite interesting on the floor of Parliament today. What else came up?
Well, you heard that the former deputy minister, in fact, she is also questioning government projected growth. According to her, government has projected the country to grow by some 4.8% by end of the next financial year. She said that before they left office, they left with some 5% growth rate. In fact, according to her, the budget projected to the economy to grow by some 6.3% by mid-year. And so if this government insists that they are doing better than the previous government, then they should be ending the next year above the 5% growth rate that they had left. She also questions the big push agenda. She said government must prioritize finishing the current road projects that are in place before they begin to, give award contract for new ones under the big push. But she's not the only former government person who's been reacting to the budget. The former spokesperson for Dr. Bawumia, the former vice president, as well as his technical advisor, have also been talking. Dr. Gideon Boako believes that the good, economic indicators we are seeing about decreasing inflation, as well as the cedi appreciating against the dollar, as a result of the sound foundations they have laid in the previous government. The technical advisor to the former vice president, Dr. Tia Kabiru, is also insisting that government deceived Ghanaians when they told us that they were not going to do any substantive allocation to the 24-hour economy in the budget, and that it will be operating as part of broader budget expenses, only for them to allocate some over 100 million Ghana cedis to the 24-hour economy in this 2026 budget.
Take, for instance, the area of inflation. Mr. Speaker, by April 2014, in line with the Extended Credit Facility Agreement between the Government of Ghana and the IMF, certain macro-fiscal programs had been put in place for inflation to peter out and end 2025 with a single digit. This was widely published and communicated by both the IMF and then the Bank of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, I must say that it is refreshing that this government has stayed put with that arrangement by the previous government, and today we have single-digit inflation. I am sure Minister Amin and Abna will be happy that the seed they sowed and watered has germinated into this single-digit inflation that we are witnessing today.
Mr. Speaker, something they said they were not going to budget for, and that 24-hour economy is part of the normal operation, and we shouldn't expect a budget line for 24-hour economy. They told us before this house. This year, they are allocating $110 million for that. The leader of the House said it, that we shouldn't expect a budget line. Today, there is a budget line for 24-hour economy, and they want us to believe that that money is not going to be used for consumption. Mr. Speaker, they go on and on and on with the expenditure and promises. And even at a point, I wonder whether the minister responsible for finance was actually speaking to this House. How will you mention agriculture implements and go and be mentioning digs, Mr. Speaker? The digs, he will mention the number of digs that they are going to acquire. Meanwhile, they are part of the plow. This is what we call pardon. This is what we call pardon of records. You don't pardon records to look good. The record itself must speak for itself, but not any scheme to inflate your record.
Well, we'll be taking you to Parliament shortly, just to give you a bit of what is happening on the floor. But I still have with me James Abeji. James, right now as we speak, what's happening in Parliament?
Well, before I came on air with you, the House was preparing to go on a short break and come back to continue with the budget debate. But intermittently, they have been laying a number. The House have been receiving a number of reports from the various committees, including the Committee on Finance as well. And so we are waiting for them to come back for the debate to continue through the sitting to tomorrow. We know that it'll be a long day, a long week activity. So we're here monitoring what the blame as well as the justifications will be from both sides of the House as far as the Budget 2026 debate is concerned. For Steve.
Thank you so much, James Aveji. And we'll be in Parliament this afternoon because the debate is still ongoing. We've been hearing from both the majority defend the budget and the minority taking aim at government. Let's take you now live to Parliament and just engage just before we engage someone, let me take you to Parliament. Abu Jinapo is on the floor of Parliament, I am told. Let's listen live.
Upstream industry when it comes to the petroleum sector, and to put in place measures such as exploration, making exploration more incentivizing exploration, and getting into a lot more petroleum agreements to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that ultimately our production will inch up moving forward, and which will eventually result in an increment in revenue accruing to the state, and which obviously, Mr. Speaker, as you can well imagine, will populate this fund and its management for the betterment of our country. Mr. Speaker, with these words, I support the request that has been made to the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Majority Leadership. Yes, Finance Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, I presented the memo to Parliament for approval in line with Section 27(1) and 2. The Speaker, Section 27(1) of Act 815 states that the resources of the Ghana Petroleum Fund and subsequently the Ghana Petroleum World Fund shall be invested in qualifying instruments prescribed by an executive instrument. The 2 further states that the range of instruments designated as qualifying instrument shall be reviewed every 3 years or sooner by the Minister on the advice of the Investment Advisory Committee. The Speaker, since 2011, this provision has not been adhered to. As a result, our petroleum resources, as invested, is yielding only about 1% in interest. The Speaker, unfortunately, our petroleum resources have not worked hard enough for us, and we believe that time has come for us to review how we invest this instrument. Right Honourable Speaker, if you are to look at Section 39 of the same Act 815, it says that the Minister shall provide Parliament with any advice given by the Investment Advisory Committee within 7 days. The Speaker, on the 11th of November 2025, the Investment Advisory Committee advised me to take action by amending the qualifying instrument. Right Honourable Speaker, in line with Section 39, I'm compelled to come before this House and provide the advice and seek further approval. Right Honourable Speaker, if you are to look at Section 30 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, Act 815, it goes on to say that the functions of the Investment Advisory Committee are to formulate and propose to the Minister the investment policy and management of Ghana Stabilization Fund and the Heritage Fund, and the Minister shall submit it for approval by Parliament. Mr. Speaker, it doesn't only say 7 days, but after receiving the advice in 7 days, I have to come before you. Mr. Speaker, the law is quite a strict one. If you look at Section 38, I have 48 hours only to review this and appear before you. And so, Mr. Speaker, today is the 7th day since I received the advice, and hence it's important to bring this to your notice. And Mr. Speaker, what I like about this amendment is the fact that it made certain proposals. And the proposals are as follows. They said that we recommend a 2-track approach to the amendment as follows. A, to retain the existing base of foreign investment grade sovereign instrument. So, Mr. Speaker, we are not running away from the existing base. He said retain it, but B, expressly include additional categories of assets subject to strict criteria and caps. Strict criteria and caps. And they said that we also clarify that any domestic instrument held by the Ghana Petroleum Funds does not constitute borrowings against the Petroleum Holding Fund or petroleum reserves in line with Section 5.2 of the amendment of the amended Act 815. The Speaker, again, he says that this does not contradict Section 10.4, which provides that every 15 years, Parliament may review restrictions placed on the Ghana Heritage Fund and transfer accrued interest into any other funds established under the PRMA. The Speaker, it went further to say that this will be subject to explicit portfolio caps to be determined by the Investment Advisory Committee following regular, rigorous benchmark assessment. So, Mr. Speaker, even though the amendment seeks to add on, they have provided very strict criteria to make sure that, at the minimum, our petroleum funds are protected and, at the same time, yielding the necessary income to grow the fund over a period of time. In so doing, Mr. Speaker, the advice is to include the following. 1, foreign currency denominated debt instrument issued under government-approved framework to finance national energy investment in the following areas: electricity generation and natural gas processing. And B, Mr. Speaker, sovereign and multilateral energy instruments which are denominated in internationally convertible currencies and hold investment grade or equivalent ratings. And these are as follows: bonds or notes issued by or fully guaranteed by sovereign states other than the Republic of Ghana, or by multilateral or regional development or energy institutions such as the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, African Development Bank, Africa Finance Corporation, and West Africa Power Pool. And Mr. Speaker, finally, it says that participation in pooled Africa energy transitions would yield in excess of 8%. Mr. Speaker, that will mean that in future, we will be able to come here and celebrate the amount of income that our petroleum funds has been able to accrue. Mr. Speaker, today we have about 1.456 billion Ghana cedis in our petroleum funds. It is only $1 billion in our petroleum funds being invested. Unfortunately, we are yielding only 1%. Mr. Speaker, largely, the instrument we have benefited, we have invested in are largely IMF-issued bonds or World Bank-issued bonds. Mr. Speaker, 1% we believe is too small. And on the advice of the Investment Advisory Council and per the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, and before this House to provide advice and seek for your approval, Mr. Speaker, I so submit.
Honourable members, at the conclusion of the debate, the question is as many as are in favour of the motion say aye. Those against say no. Honourable members, the ayes have it. The motion is accordingly adopted. Yes, Majority Leader, before coming to you, let me take 2 minutes suspension.
My brother RLG is on mute. He's trolling me.
Thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. Well, the Ghana Psychological Association has raised alarm over the severe mental health gap in the country, revealing that less than 20 clinical psychologists are currently employed by the government, with most based in the Greater Accra region and a few in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. Well, this means 14 out of 16 regions have no governmental and a government-employed clinical psychologist at all. Now, this leaves millions of Ghanaians, especially in underserved communities and areas, without access to essential mental health services. The association's president, Dr. Richmond Aqua Coleman, is urging government to support the integration of mental health screening into primary health care, a move he believes will reduce stigma and help more people seek support early. He made these remarks at the launch of this year's Psychological Week celebration and annual general meeting. Thankfully, he joins us live with more. Doc, we appreciate your time here on The Pulse. First, paint a picture for us, really. What's the state of mental health in the country as we speak?
Okay, so in terms of, first of all, good afternoon, and good afternoon to our viewers. Let me say that there are some growing concerns of mental health in the country. And these mental health issues span across the lifespan, from children to adolescents to adults, as well as older ones. Recent times, we have seen of suicide and substance abuse among adolescents. We've also recorded that many work adults themselves are all complaining about stress, burnout, and what have you. Also have vulnerable adults who do not even get access to psychological service. So this situation is quite alarming, and that is why this week's Psychological Week celebration, we actually focusing on mental health across the lifespan, where we pay attention to the various what the issues are. We realize that the support and access to mental health in all these areas have been, if you like, neglected. And there are very few professionals in the Ghana Health Service. For example, like I earlier indicated, I was not sure about that. As it stands now, within the Ghana Health Service itself, they have only 12 psychologists. So the 12, 6 of them are actually in Accra. I understand Ho doesn't have any psychologist. Even Kumasi doesn't have any psychologist in the regional and district hospitals. Sunyani has one. Central region, I think, has one. And then also Western region too has one. So they are just not there. And that becomes challenging. Where you will see an appreciation of clinical psychologists is perhaps in the teaching. They come under the Ghana, the Ministry of Health. Take the teaching hospitals like Kolebu. Kolebu has about 24 psychologists. 37 should have about 14 or so. The rest, in terms, the last time I checked, even with Confanotin teaching hospitals, I think we have, if not the fact that has even left. And then if you go to Cape Coast, they are about 2. So this is how the situation is, and not having psychology, a lot of them at the district and regional level, is really, really worrying.
Have you submitted a petition to government at least, just to get them to look into your concerns? The health ministry, are they aware?
Well, we have made some effort to even meet the minister, to sit down with him and help him appreciate what the situation is. As we stand now, we are hoping that the Psychology Council Board will be inaugurated, so that even some of these things together, we can push them. All the health professionals, regulatory bodies, they have their council, their board working. As we speak now, for Ghana Psychology Council, we don't even know why our board has not been inaugurated. So all these things are even stalling our effort to push government to help us. One of the efforts that we have made and the feedback we've gotten, especially for our members, is that all because the conditions of service in the Ghana Health Service is not the best.
But
conditions of service in the Ghana Health Service is not the best.
Have you made attempts to find out why exactly your board hasn't been constituted? What reasons have you been given?
we have not really, of course, government is still looking around to see if they can find more qualified people to be put on the board. In fact, that is all that we are getting. And we don't see why that should delay, because we have enough qualified, experienced people around who can really be constituted and then get us running. But as of now, we've not gotten a very tangible reasons why all these things, all the health professionals' bodies or their board has been constituted, and the psychology council meeting, we don't even know when the minister is going to call us and say that, yes, this is the board. And I don't think that can really support us.
Thank you so much, Doc. We appreciate your time. We will try to reach out to the ministry to get some explanations, some of the concerns you have raised. Well, away from that, Ghana has much to learn from Brazil's strong planning, city management and urban mobility systems. Despite tens of thousands of climate experts, government officials and environmental tourists arriving for COP30, Belgium's effective transport system kept major roads free from heavy gridlock due to multiple commuter options. In this report, my colleague Carlos Coloni examines the city management strategies that pushes urban mobility to the forefront at COP30.
This is an area view of Belém, ranked 27th among Brazil's major cities and host of COP30. The Amazonian city is lively with nightlife, food, culture, and welcoming residents. But its key feature is its disciplined urban planning and mobility system. From the airport, roads are clearly marked and free of hawkers. About 50,000 delegates entered the city through this airport, yet no major gridlocks were recorded, even around the Hangar Convention Center. The reason is simple: effective planning and diverse transport choices. Beyond rapid bus systems, Belém offers ride-hailing services and what Ghanaians call Okada, except that riders here strictly follow road traffic regulations. There is also another key reason traffic is almost absent. The jets. An electric scooter using geolocation maps let users move across the city cheaply, helping reduce vehicles on the roads. So how does it work? Clara, a leading manager at a jet station at COP30, explains.
So the scooter is working of our rental. You pay our rental, our package of the minutes, hours, and minutes for hours. Today the minutes is 62 cents. You pay in the app. You need to download in jetting your cell phone, confirm your phone number. So that is, you can buy, you can pay. So you can ride anywhere in the city, but some rules in the app. So today you can ride at any event, a COP30. So in normal days, you can ride anywhere, respect the rules, park and cigarette lines. So you pay a minute, for example, you pay for the hour, this is 37 reals in Brazilian money. So these are practical scooters. They can 10% electric scooters. And I recommend the jet because the jet is so practical for your ride and anywhere you want.
Can Ghana apply similar lessons to address across daily gridlocks? Dr. Nimwe Thompson, chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, says cities need a radical shift in planning and local management to build future-ready urban spaces.
The district assemblies are actually supposed to work in close collaboration with LUSPA, Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority. They have their own fiscal planning departments, but then the systems are weak for a number of reasons. The processes may be weak, the resources may not be there, but we can no longer use those as excuses for not planning and developing. Indeed, if you look at the tagline for the National Spatial Development Framework, it says space, efficiency, growth. So, and all economic activities take place in physical space. How efficiently you plan and utilize that space has critical implications for your economic growth. If we plan well, certainly there'll be a certain bump in economic growth, but we don't do that. So we are, among other strategies that the Commission is adopting, is what we call the local economic development strategy, LED. So we are going to highlight that local economies are the building blocks for the national economy. In other words, if you want to grow and transform your national economy, you must grow and transform your local economy. I keep using Accra. I just recently came back from Bibiani. I drove from Accra to Bibiani. It was quite a depressing sight, to put it mildly, how the economy has become more and more informalized, often through the neglect and also conscious decisions by the district assemblies.
Belém, though not among Brazil's top 10 cities, shows what modern urban planning and mobility can achieve. Accra, however, continues to battle daily traffic, growing unauthorized structures, and widespread street hawking, making movement a major challenge for residents.
Well, with 52 cents per minute, you can use this scooter here in the city of Belém, and you'll be able to transport yourself to your own destination without necessarily relying on a taxi or an Uber. It's environmentally friendly because these bikes are electrically powered, and so which means they are not releasing any gases into the atmosphere. This is a way of managing traffic situation here in Belém that we can also emulate in Accra, Ghana, where traffic situation is so unbearable. Reporting from Belém, my name is Carlos Scaloni for JoyNews.
And we're glad to have Carlos back with us here in Accra. But let me tell you about Central University, because all is set for the university's 24th graduation ceremony. Central University, as you may be aware, is one of the foremost Ghanaian Christian tertiary institutions in the country, and they are built on strong Christian values. The university has a strong faculty that runs program in health, engineering, law, and pharmacy, among others. A number of students are expected to graduate after years of study, and it's happening tomorrow. Well, join me in the studio. I'll let them do all the talking. Dr. Gloria Carasa, she is the director of Christ Temple campus of Central University. I also have Jonathan Sime, did I get that right? He's an alumni, of the Central University and branch manager of ADB. We appreciate your time, ladies and gentlemen. So let me start with you, Doc, because certainly we want to know about this whole graduation ceremony and what makes this program unique. Why should we be there tomorrow?
I think that this graduation is very unique to us because over the past 23 years, we've never had a double graduation. So it tells you that our numbers are going high, we are getting more students, and we are dividing the graduation into 2 sessions so that we have the morning session and then we have the afternoon session. And for me, what thrills me most is one 86-year-old man who is graduating tomorrow in theology. It's
Did you say 86?
86-year-old man who is graduating tomorrow in theology. We are so excited about it. And graduation is always a time to celebrate, hard work, celebrate achievement. We are also excited because we are pouring into Ghana, more workforce in terms of our students that we are chiming out. We are having pharmacy, engineering students, law, business students. We are chiming them all out to help the workforce, even in this nation and beyond. So it's an exciting moment, and it's a time that the students also get to meet alumni, foster relationship, good networking, and all that. So for us, tomorrow is a big day for Central University.
And I'm looking forward to how the whole celebration will come out. I'll come back to you because we want to see what we should expect on that day. But I'll come to you because as an alumni, you must be proud of your institution. What are some of the values really that you have gotten from the school that is helping you even now?
Yes, I'm very proud of Central University. As you know, we pride ourselves in faith, integrity, and excellence. And I must say that I completed 5 years ago, Central University. I had my MBA in finance in Central University. And at the time I graduated, or before I went in and graduated, I worked as a relationship manager at ADB. Now I'm a branch manager. So if anything at all, I've seen progress ever since I graduated from Central University. And of course,
the values they inculcate in you go a long way to drive you as a person, to make sure that you are focused on the ball, and of course, professional-wise, your integrity is also in check. So it's no wonder with all these things going on with EOCO and Special Prosecutor, you've not heard of any Central University alumni in there.
Well, not yet.
No, never.
Well, not yet. We cannot say never, though. But then let's look at, as a student, looking at some of the things that you're taught in school. Most people complain that our educational structure right now lacks practicality. We're mostly teaching the pupils theories, and we're not seeing hands on the ground practical work. How is Transfer University changing that narrative in the kind of programs you churn out?
Interestingly, Central University is big on internships. So right from the word go, once you set foot in Central University, you enroll as a student. Internship is something that you cannot do without. And most of the time we have our industry affiliations. We've even affiliations with bodies that will help make our students more professional. And so basically, Central University, internship is what we really ensure that every student goes through an internship. And it's something that helps the students. By the time they are graduating, they've already gotten jobs. And it's compulsory. Internship is compulsory. And we have industry. Sometimes industry comes into the classrooms because of our affiliation with industry. They join us in the lecture rooms, and then we have practical knowledge from practice. Practical knowledge from the organization. So we know what really the students that we are chiming out will really carry. So I think that Central University is unique, coupled with even our own core values of faith, integrity, and excellence. We pride in it because we believe that at the end of the day, the faith will grant you that fortitude of mind, that tenacity of heart to be able to carry whatever you are doing through and through, and also wear your integrity in terms of not keeping double standards, doing the right thing at the right time, keeping up and keeping your eye on the ball, knowing that whatever you set your eyes to do, you can achieve them and do it excellently. So I believe that Central University students are going places.
For young people watching right now, what unique programs do you have that they can be interested in, especially because now we have AI in the system, people looking at new ways of learning? What new programs do you have for young people?
Interestingly, we are doing a lot of collaborative courses.
Okay.
For my special course, which I want to mention first, I lecture in finance. Okay. And we have a course in finance and IT. We have a course in finance and with economics. So we have a course in development finance, and we are trying to write even more courses. And we have pharmacy, we have law, we have architecture, we have engineering. And all these things are coupled with industry. They have the industry links. And so whilst you are on the course learning, you also have the industry touch. And most of the time, like I say, they go out for internships. And even industry come to us. We have a special program in our university called the Industry Day, where we have all people from industry lining up, aligning in the school, having interaction with the students and encouraging them, pepping them up, helping them. Sometimes they even become mentors for the students. So by the time you are graduating, by the time you are finishing school, you have somebody who is holding your hands through by the time you graduate, so that it will just lead you to the right place. So young people, I think that Central University is the go-to.
We'll come back to you to tell them how they can reach you. So get that ready for us, your email address, your phone numbers, what have not. But let me come to Jonathan as we wrap up the conversation. Most young people are concerned about the cost of education. Well, you've been to Central University. Is it pricey?
No, it's quite affordable.
Okay.
I can say in certainty that for some of the public universities now, they're even more expensive than Central University. And I know some of my colleagues who got scholarship from Central University and all of that. So, the price... So
there are scholarship incentives?
Yes.
Tell us more about that. If I have to come to you, tell me all about that. Tell me about the scholarship program you're running and how young people can benefit from it.
Well, the university itself has scholarship scheme for the students. I'm on the board, so we interview students, brilliant but needy students. We encourage them, and by paying their school fees through and through. We also have even scholarships for just if your parents can afford your fees, but they cannot pay your hostel, there's something for you. And even if your parents can afford your fees, and yet we have something we call the CUK, and that takes care of you. Maybe your needs, your provisions, little things that you will need, which your parents would have after paying your fees, they are exhausted, they cannot handle. CU does that. Beyond that, the church itself also has a kind of scholarship that they give to people. If you are a church member, Central Investee, and you are a Central ICGC member, you have a whooping 15% of your fees. If you are a pastor or you're a pastor's child, you have 25% of your fees, and it goes on and on to that level. We have scholarships all through for all courses, and the science courses we are thick in giving scholarship because we know they are quite pricey and expensive, not compared to when we compare ourselves to the other investees. We know that we are very, very affordable, as Jonathan has said, but we still afford scholarships, and we help students to go through the school. CUK, for example, is just to help students go through the investing. Some people, maybe they've paid their fees, it's left with just 1,000, 2,000. It becomes a burden for the parents. CUK comes in to sort you out, to help you. So the school is trying, and we are just managing the students to help them graduate and go through school with ease.
I see. So how can they reach you? And I'll come to you for that. But Jonathan, tell us when it's happening, where it's happening, the 24th graduation ceremony. And then what we should look forward to on that day. Then I'll come to you for all the contacts and the details.
So the graduation is happening at ICGC Christ Temple East Campus.
Okay.
We have a very big auditorium there. That's our church auditorium. So we have a big auditorium. So all road leads to Christ Temple East tomorrow morning.
And how can they reach you?
Reach us in terms of applying
if you want to come to the school.
It's very easy. Go to the Central Investee website, download an application form, and then you are good to go. It gives you the prompts, and then you are voila. It's very easy. And also, if you don't have what it takes to go online to apply, just walk into the Christ Temple campus, which is in Accra here at Abosokai. Just come there, and then there are people there to help you to get the form. Or if you are close to Miocho, you can also get it. If you're also at Kumasi, we have a campus at Kumasi. You can also drive in at the Ija. We have a campus at the Ija. You can actually locate us there and then get your form. But it's very easy. Well, going online is easier.
Okay, going online is easier. Now, just as we wrap up, really, final details. How really are the lineup we're expecting tomorrow? The individuals that will be passing through, who are they, and why should we even listen to them tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have our Chancellor himself sitting on top of the program. That is Reverend Dr. Mensah Otabil. We have a new Vice Chancellor, who is Professor Samuel Kwesi Dateba, who is chairing sitting on the days also through graduation. We have our Pro-Vice Chancellor, we have our council members, all will be there. We have parents. Our parents, we love them so much. Parents will be there. Students, alumni will be thick because they want to affiliate with their younger brothers and sisters from their various programs. So alumni, I know they are featuring very heavily in the place. So just get there quick so that you don't get crowded out.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time here on The Pulse. And that's how we wrap up The Pulse. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Faustina Safo. It's been a pleasure doing this with you. See you same time, same station tomorrow. Have a pleasant day as you enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye.